Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me for the graveyard shift. I will try to make sure you're not walking zombies from The Walking Dead by the time we're finished. It's nice to see some friendly faces in the crowd. Lots of our TPMS communities here. Well, limited, no. But really appreciate you guys turning up. Anyways, what are we talking about today? I'm going to tell you a little bit about of credentials on who I am or who our business is, what we do. I'm going to run through some TPMS basics, considering that we have 3 sensor manufacturers here. I think they're going to be a little bit bored by that, so we're only going to give you a little bit about TPMS basics. And then I'm going to talk about this tidal wave. It sounds very dramatic, doesn't it? A tidal wave of opportunity. I'm going to explain what that tidal wave is. I know Rob is very excited to find out about it. And then I'm going to talk specifically about the key stakeholders in our UK aftermarket. We have special nuances that perhaps the German and Scandinavian market doesn't have. We're going to talk about the UK market today, and we're going to talk about the sensor manufacturer's dilemma, whether the sensor manufacturers agree with me or not in the room. We're going to talk about the challenges for distributors, such as a company like ourselves, and tyre retailers, the typical customers that we have, as well as the vehicle owners and the kind of shock that their systems go through. And lastly, I'm going to give you a few cents of my personal comments. The presentation's only about 20 minutes, so if you have any questions, you're welcome to fire away at the end. So, who are we? What do we do? Well, I'm personally Vice Chairman of the National Tyre Distributors Association. It's a professional trade association that looks after tyre retailers and wholesalers in the United Kingdom. I'm also Managing Director of a company called Autogem that's been supplying TPMS products since 2007. We have about 2,000 workshops working with us, and we've trained in excess of 5,000 people, whether that be online, in person, and even internationally. So hopefully we have a little bit of experience there for you. I'm also a founding member of an international TPMS distributors group, and I've personally worked on several vehicle manufacturer TPMS programs, so I hope I can give you a little bit of experience today. So let's move on. TPMS, what is it? Tyre Pressure Monitoring System. I think most of you will know that, broadly speaking, there are 2 different types of TPMS system on the market today. Obviously this technology is going to evolve. We have a direct system, which involves these kind of, as this laser pointer giving me fun, well, I just use my hand. A typical sensor that's inside the tyre. It gives off various readings, it gives off a pressure reading, and various other readings. It goes to the vehicle's receiver, and then it gives a warning light on the dashboard if there's an issue with the tyre. That's called a direct system, and we've also got an indirect system which uses the vehicle's ABS system, wheel speed sensors to measure wheel speed, compare them across the axle, and work out if there's a potential deflation there. So those are 2 basic types of TPMS system. Let's move on to our tidal wave. Let's get into the drama of this presentation. Why do I call it a tidal wave? Well, the European Union brought out some legislation and it started phasing in 2012. In 2014, this got fully blown, so to speak, in the 1st of November. And that means every vehicle sold in Europe post 1st of November 2014 has to have a form of tyre pressure monitoring system on it. Whether that's direct or whether that's indirect, it has to have a form or the other. Now where it gets a little bit better is we have an MOT that now captures that. So we've had the legislation that forces this technology onto cars on the road, and we now also have a regulation to make sure that it's working. It's quite a simple test at the MOT, and it only counts for vehicles first used, registered from the 1st of January 2012 onwards. That does mean they're being captured right now. If it's a light on a dashboard, it is an MOT failure. So there's the opportunity building. Let's break down a little bit of numbers for you. I'm really talking today only about direct systems. I'm not talking about indirect systems. We have in the UK approximately 2 million vehicle registrations a year. Now if you look at that, 65% or so have direct TPMS, those funny little sensors that I was pointing at earlier. 65% of that equates to, do some really rough back of a fag packet maths, 5 to 6 million sensors annually being added to the vehicle car park per year. And what makes this particularly interesting is it is very likely that all of those sensors will need replacing during the lifetime of those vehicles. So if you start adding it up, 2014 this kicked in, 2015, here we are in 2016, we have got millions and millions and millions of sensors on the road, all getting ready to potentially be an opportunity for sales. Mass market vehicle manufacturers have adopted this, as you can see. So your popular vehicles, Ford Fiestas, Vauxhall Porsches, Vauxhall Insignias, all BMWs, all Toyotas, all Mercedes, already have sensors inside those wheels. Those batteries, I'm going to come on to that, and the other reasons why TPMS may require replacement are all coming. So that's your little tidal wave, it's growing. Let's look at the commercial opportunities here. I'm going to concentrate on sensor replacement after this slide. But first and foremost, sensors may or may not need replacing. They will probably need servicing during their lifetime. There's also these kind of retro kits that can be sold. There's winter wheel sets, which is not particularly popular here in the UK. And you already also have track day wheel sets, which are also not particularly popular in the UK. But there's different revenue streams that are available to tyre retailers and obviously their suppliers. Let's concentrate on sensor replacement. What's the really exciting part? Well, sensors have batteries inside them. And as we know, batteries eventually fail. When they fail, it's all dependent on mileage, vehicle usage, temperature, things like that. I'm not going to bore you with that, it's beyond the scope of today's presentation. But batteries will eventually fail, and they should fail within the lifetime of the vehicle. Sensors are inadvertently damaged by customers, vehicle owners. Petrol station, I don't know if you've forgotten or not, they go to a petrol station, they shear off the end of these things when they're filling up air, and they're thinking, oh my goodness, what have I just done? I've just damaged it. They get damaged in accidents. They get damaged at the tyre installer. People dismount tyres incorrectly, they mount tyres incorrectly. They can break these things. So there's lots of exposure for sensor replacement. Talking about exposure, we have corrosion as well. A lot of these sensors are made of aluminium, as you can see down here. They're exposed to the environment, and that obviously causes problems with them before the batteries fail. So there's lots and lots of reasons why you would replace a sensor. Now we're going to move on to the sharks that Rob's been waiting for so much. The manufacturer's dilemma. So the sensor manufacturers in the room. It's actually, I would say, they are in the supply chain perhaps the people who are stuck between the rock and the hard place. I think they have the biggest challenge or dilemma out of everyone in the supply chain. So they've got a huge investment to start with. And they're entering a volume-driven market. They've got to navigate lots of different patents. There's different ways of skinning a cat, essentially, when it comes to TPMS. And they've got to be careful that they don't infringe with patents. So they've got their challenges in that sense. And I think the hardest part for any sensor manufacturer, and maybe you guys can come and tell me afterwards whether I'm right or wrong, is choosing the right partners to sell your product. Because TPMS is actually quite a technical product, as you're going to find out a little bit later on. Distributors have to give a lot of technical support, they have to give a lot of training, and that's really expensive for a distributor. So the last thing a sensor manufacturer wants to do is create a price war within its own territories. So they need to really look and choose very, very carefully for someone who can protect their brand. And that's why I've got a picture of our lovely little shark here. I don't know which one the sensor manufacturer is, which one the distributor is, but the point is they need each other. They need each other to survive and catch that meal wherever it is. The other challenges to sensor manufacturers is there's more and more vehicles entering the market and they have slightly different protocols or language in their TPMS sensors. So there's a bit of a development race on. And sensor manufacturers like to talk about what coverage does their technology have. How many vehicles can they cover? What's the percentage of their car park? So they're constantly in a race to develop and test protocols and make sure they work and release them out to their distributors. And TPMS technology is evolving as well. From the early days when the very simple systems, which were just simple OBD relams, to quite sophisticated auto loan systems that are out today, and I'm sure the sensor manufacturers would love to tell us about what's coming tomorrow as well. There's constantly development going on. It's quite challenging. So that's their dilemmas. What about a sensor distributor? What are their challenges? Well, I can speak personally from this. Firstly, they've got to choose the right aftermarket technology. So again, lots of different ways to skin a cat. The question is, what's the most efficient way to do it? And what products actually work and which ones actually don't? There's only a limited number of competent sensor manufacturers out there, and that's a challenge for us distributors. We need to choose the right ones. And having that good supplier relationship is absolutely crucial, because remember, we're the shark, or we're the pilot, I'm not sure. We've got to establish really good training programs, really good technical support programs. You know, the kind of calls that we're taking on a daily basis, 15, 20 minutes, even half an hour, to get your tyre retail customer out of jail. That's expensive, and you need a lot of knowledge to do that. And you have to protect the customer's brand, and you've got to protect the supplier's brand as well at the same time. So we've got ongoing training and technical support costs, and that's not cheap. And you need to be highly influential in the installer sales success as well. So there's a lot of things that a distributor needs to bring to the table. It's not a part number, it's a program. And that's what I like to say. I mean, you can see some of the different things we've got on the screen there that we bring to the table. The tyre retailers have their own challenges as well. They're being bombarded with different types of aftermarket TPMS technology. Oh, use our system, it's the best, it's got the best coverage, it's got the best this, it's got the best that. We've got traditional snap-in valve revenue, which is falling. So for those of you who don't really understand that, when you change a tyre, you normally change a tyre valve at the same time. Suddenly, if you've got TPMS sensors inside the vehicle, you don't need to change that tyre valve every time. These tyre retailers make money from changing that valve every time. They charge for the valve every time. So suddenly their revenue's falling, and they need to recoup that. How do they recoup it? Maybe they get into TPMS servicing. But that means new skills are required to be able to service TPMS sensors. And that's something that's completely new for the tyre retailer. They're dealing with vehicle electronics when they're used to changing tyres. It's getting complicated for them. They're having to get OBD equipment, which they've never experienced before. So, essentially, a lot of knowledge has to be learned, a lot of knowledge has to be ingrained across retail networks, and that's not easy to achieve. That takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of patience, but with a proactive ownership approach, they can do it. It's not easy, especially with the largest chains. With a competent supplier, and that's very, very important, that can give good training and good technical support, it can be achieved. They have to redevelop their standard operating procedures to incorporate TPMS into that. They've got to redevelop their point of sale material to be able to explain it to their customers. But the nice thing is they've got a high margin opportunity for a while before everyone decides to cut each other's throats. They've got a high margin opportunity against a wave of budget tyres moving into our market. So it's quite a challenging situation. They've got a real opportunity to build their reputation with something new that the customers don't understand. But the important thing is, what we say is, you might put all this energy in when you get your TPMS equipment. It's very important to maintain traction after you've done that. And that's quite challenging as well, especially if you're a very large tyre retailer. Vehicle owner's shop. Now, I mean, you can see this guy's frustration. What's TPMS? I bought a car, I didn't know I put TPMS on it. I came in here for tyres. Why are you charging me for a sensor? How much does it cost? I broke this at the petrol station. All these sorts of things the tyre retailer has to deal with. And they're dealing with it on a daily basis. And this is not an easy conversation. Because as it is, buying tyres is a distressed purchase. People don't enjoy it. Now you're giving them even more distress when you tell them they've got a tyre pressure sensor to change. So they need service providers that they can trust. And that's where it sort of moves further up. So essentially, we're back to our friend the shark again, who's roaming the seas, looking for a morsel to eat. He's got all those pilot fish eating all the parasites off his body. And what I'm really trying to say to you all is, every stakeholder is more connected than they realise. The supplier is so dependent on their distributors to protect their brand, and on their distributors to sell their products effectively. The The tyre retailer is so dependent on the distributor to make sure they've got good technical support and they get good training and good ongoing training and good ongoing technical support. And the vehicle owner is so reliant on that tyre retailer to explain the technology properly to them, to be professional and to not ruin their own reputation. So that's really my message for you all, is to say it's a great opportunity. There is a tidal wave, there are sharks under the water, but we've got a great opportunity to build our reputations or completely destroy them. So go and do your homework, and if you've got any questions, I think that's me done for 20 minutes.